So problem lists. I think it's really important to just talk about the ICF framework before we kind of move into problem lists, because this is kind of why or how we ground our problem lists and how we make them patient specific. So it's International Classification of Functionality or Function and Activity framework, which basically says that in any health condition, there are many different factors affecting an individual. And even though you have many individuals that have, say, a stroke or a subarachnoid hemorrhage or a tumour or any different kind of multitude of things we see on neurosurgery, everyone reacts differently, and everybody has different kind of priorities as well. So looking and thinking about the ICF framework helps us to make sure that we are being individualized and patient specific when we're thinking about problem lists. So body functions and structures is kind of obvious in terms of is there high tone, is there low tone, are there sensory deficits, are there visual deficits, is there ataxia, lots of things that at a kind of structural point. Do they have a pre-existing shoulder injury? Are they waiting for a knee replacement and therefore can't get and haven't got full extension for years? Things like that are individual to every single patient. And then there's activities. Now I think, and I found it very hard to get activities and participation separate in my head. So it's okay if you get a little bit confused. It's taken me a while as well. But activities is, if we think about our activities of daily living and think of it like that. So being able to, if we think closed-minded physio, are they able to sit to stand? Are they able to lie to sit? Are they able to walk? And then we add in, are they able to sit to stand to be able to brush their hair or brush their teeth at the sink? Are they able to sit on the edge of the bed, reach down, put their socks on? What are they able to do and what are they not able to do? And if we think about participation, that's not how willing they are to participate. That's about their participation within society. Do they work? Do they have children? Do they have a keen passion, which if they don't do that, then they don't see the point of living, I suppose. Do you have a young female who has had a stroke that also has children as a mother and has those priorities to think about, which are going to affect everything else in her what her ADLs would look like, and then every individual has their own body function and structure deficits. So those three are kind of the core, and then you've got environmental factors and personal factors. So the personal factors is kind of motivation, what drives people, which can link to participation in society. Might be someone's an absolute workaholic and just wants to get back to being at work. Might be somebody doesn't care about work but really wants to be able to garden or see their grandchildren, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's different. And then environmental factors. What can we do to help make everything within the activities and participation easier? If you take somebody, a sort of young woman with children, the environmental factors we might be kind of what aids can be put in place to help, what equipment can we give, could there be adaptations to the home to allow for the environmental factors to make activities and participation easier on that individual's life and ability. So thinking like this helps us to get a really good understanding of our role in that individual's journey. Does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. So, goals and problem lists. You need to have goals that we're working towards with all patients. One, for them to know why we are doing what we're doing, because what we can be doing sometimes is quite abstract. And if they say to you, why am I doing this session lying down? I just need to be able to walk to be able to go home. You can then say, we're doing this because when you're walking, you're needing to have a frame, and a couple of people to help you, and you need that because you've got X, Y, and Z as an issue, and working like this is helping build your strength in those ways to improve your walking. So yeah, using the ICF framework helps you to think more patient-centered. It's important to understand a patient's goals and what they want to be able to do, what their important personal factors are, where they are in terms of their participation within society, to help us understand where we need to get somebody to. So you might treat a young person who is a footballer, or want to get them to a much higher level than an older individual who has quite a sedentary lifestyle and walks a couple of meters from the kitchen to the living room a day. So you understand that already, and I don't want to say teach it to suck eggs, but if we take it off those two very simple things, we add complex layers within that, and understanding a patient's goals helps us to direct our therapy. So, how do we build a patient-specific problem? So we think about a functional deficit. This is the way I like to frame it. Functional deficit, what their body function and impairment is, and how it affects their movement. You might jumble them up, and you might put what the impairment is, how it affects their movement. So you look at what their functional deficit is. But as long as you've got those three kind of core elements, that helps you to build an understanding of why someone isn't able to do a functional task. And for us to really help our patients, we need to be thinking about functional tasks, because we're constantly thinking back to their goals. So, for instance, their functional deficit is unable to sit independently. This is because they've got severe low tone in the left side of their trunk, a sensory deficit. And how this affects their movement means that they're falling to the left. They've got an altered midline orientation, causing overactive push through the right arm, which is worsening that fall to the left. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we know by breaking it down that we need to manage and work on the sensory deficit and the tonal changes to help the fall to the left and to help reduce the overactivity. Now, overactivity, a lot of people get confused with That's a kind of what we classify as being a secondary deficit. It's not a primary deficit. You don't have an area in your brain that if it's damaged, it causes overactivity. Overactivity is a secondary complication as a of the way that our body is trying to compensate for deficits. It's just a very detrimental deficit compensation. So by completing the problem list or problem functional deficit impairment, how it affects movement, that helps us to think about our treatment plan, which is kind of already what I've just said. I just moved the slide. So if they want to be able to sit independently, then we need to work on sensory reorientation to the left. We need to be able to work in lower postural sets to get core activity. Yep. Blah, 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 depending on what the person has. Okay. So I don't want to talk too much, but I want you to all think about a patient that you're involved with now and think about a functional thing that they aren't able to do. And then we can start to build a problem for them. So think about what are they not able to do? What do we know that they want to be able to do as a goal? And we'll start to build some problems.